Paycor, they're a cloud-based HRIS and payroll system designed for companies in the US. In this video, I'm going to help you get insights, which questions you should ask, and help you navigate as you decide, is this the right company for us? Now, before we start, you got to remember, whatever decision you make for the HRIS and the payroll system interacts probably multiple times a month for your employees. So this has a lot to do with your employee experience, and the decision shouldn't be taken lightly. So we're going to help you out here. All right, let's dive right in. So move myself over here. All right, so this is Paycor's website. We're on the front page. As you can see here, it says HR software built for California businesses. Now, I'm not sure if they're trying to say that California business is their main focus, but I can tell you that a lot of our clients that are in South Florida, they like this product. We have clients in New York who use this product. We do have clients in different regions that do like Paycor. So it's not just a California business, but I see what they mean. They're saying discover why California employers trust Paycor to partner with them. So it might just be because we have a lot of compliance here. Okay, so a couple of things I think are real important when you're looking at anybody's website and deciding, should I take a sales consultation? One, do you already have your list of what it is you specifically need? Are you trying to just get any payroll product in place? Have you used Paycor in the past and you want to get an update on all the features and benefits that they have now? Do you really want to talk to somebody first? I typically think that it makes the most sense, and we've seen this as a best practice, that you go through their website and try to figure out a couple of things. Who are they marketing to? This becomes very important in your payroll process because how you process payroll and what type of employees you have is going to dictate their interaction with the system and whether or not you and the company and the actual employees are going to have a good experience versus a bad one. So sometimes I like to start with who we serve, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make sure you know who they serve. Now, payroll is payroll. It can be very agnostic. However, let's look at this by industry. Healthcare, professional services, nonprofit, education, tech, retail, restaurants, manufacturing. Right off the bat, what's very interesting to me is restaurants and manufacturing. I also feel like some healthcare providers can have very difficult payroll systems, but these two in particular are very difficult for a few reasons. One, it does have a lot of wage tips, hours, clock in, clock out. Might have to, integrate with APIs with a POS system, right? And you're also dealing with cash tips and those types of things. So there's a lot of compliance that can happen there. Plus, there typically is a lot of turnover in this industry, so you got to manage that and keep good files and records. Retail can, same thing as restaurants, be very POS focused, clock in, clock out. Not all the time, but in some times. So on these ones, I would really want to look at not just the payroll system, but what does it integrate with? Is it something you would want to use a product outside of payroll you may want to use for HRIS, for recruiting? If so, are people really actually, recruiting to restaurants online in your area or for your business? Maybe, maybe not. Education. Okay, so education does get a little bit more complicated. It could have a 403B versus a 401k. There could be how your company's funded. You might have multiple departments like schools, but then you have summer camps, and then you have people with, seasonal jobs and non-seasonal jobs. You'll want to make sure you have all that stuff labeled out before you go into a sales conversation. Technology, quite frankly, they usually don't have a huge issue. Technology is usually pretty straightforward, a lot of salaries. Some people are hourly or might track their hours on projects, but usually they don't integrate it with payroll. They usually have their own system. Professional services, this could be accounting, this could be architecture, this could be marketing. So it really depending on, how you're set up, you may want to understand a little bit more about, hey, how do I pay out commissions? What's the structure in which I want to pay people? Which states do I need to stay in compliance for what? How do I manage my cash flow? All that. Another thing you want to know, if you're doing restaurants and retail, especially restaurants, if you plan on giving people a paper check on Friday night and you're hoping that they don't cash it till Monday, then getting an updated technology like this, it might not be the best. You may want to see if they also have debit cards that you can put the payroll onto for employees who may or may not have bank accounts. Okay. Manufacturing. Manufacturing is at times very difficult to integrate with the payroll system, mostly because, if you're doing manufacturing, you might have like the executives, they get paid one way. And then you might have the folks that are actually out on the floor, they're working the CNC machines or they're, manufacturing parts. Maybe they're building them. It's a little bit more dangerous. You want to figure out, hey, what safety protocols do we need? Do we have people who are doing like forklifts to help ship out the products? Do we have a lot of contractors in place? How do we manage workers' comp in this system? Is there people who are working by time overtime? Are they doing time and attendance where they may be off a lot or on a lot? Is there a night shift, a day shift? Do you have people working all day in the factory? How do you monitor each person, their clock in and clock out? Right. So you want to take your systems into the process before you buy the payroll company, because you don't want to try and fit into their box. If you try to fit into their box, I find a lot of times people get frustrated with the payroll company. And sometimes, like the sales team, they may want to make a sale, which, it depends. There's a lot of great salespeople. And I know a lot of our partners we work with, Paycor being one of them, we usually vet out which salespeople we think would give the most third-party neutral response they can, considering that they do work for this company. So let's dive in and see some of the stuff they have. Restaurants is, a little more complicated. Let's see what they say. Okay, so they got the guy. He's got his apron on. It looks like he's a little coffee shop. Okay. Test consultation, product differentiation. Okay, they're not giving me too much so far. Tailored implementation. You know what? This is great. I'm glad they bring this up, because how you implement this type of product is actually what sets you up for success long term. A lot of people will notice that payroll companies have gone away from the professional service models, where back in the day, it's like you're assigned one payroll contact and that person's always there at your beck and call. If you need them to show up on site, they can show up on site. But realistically, with the technology way it's set up nowadays, it should be so well done, so simple, you know, so organized that you do not need the human interaction. Most of the time when you need a human interaction, it's because something has gone seriously wrong and you don't know how to troubleshoot your problem, or even articulate your problem in a way that you could possibly fix it, or it could be a glitch on the tech. Right? So a tailored implementation is a really good way to have that introduction. Now, let's see what they're saying here. Turnover across restaurants and industry is inevitable. Yeah, we mentioned that. And I think especially in restaurants. But when workers aren't engaged, they experience poor training. So, it seems like with the restaurants, they're going to really want to go over LMS, analytics, and HR. So at first, this may not seem like a big deal, but your onboarding experience, how smooth that is, that will make a big difference between whether or not somebody wants to work for your restaurant or not. I mean, it might even be a point of conversation. If you get a form and they're like, hey, here's a piece of paper, go fill it out over there, and it's handed to a one of the chefs by another chef, and they got grease all over their fingers and they're turning in a greasy piece of paper, versus, hey, just go on your phone, fill out this link and you'll be good. Then there's a big difference there. You can also customize the onboarding experience and the questions, but you'll want to talk to the sales team and ask them all about how would I set this up? Is this in the implementation phase? Can I change it as I go? Can you show me how I would change it? And really, like, aside from the first consultation, if you're able to create for yourself your own RFP, if you're looking at multiple vendors, like, hey, these are the things I want outlined, and you can send that to someone, that's super helpful. Okay. Serving customers should be your top priority, not HR, right? Oh man. So look, if you're going through the back office stuff, what you're going to want to do is see what accounting systems do I need to integrate. We'll look at that in a moment. The reason why, again, I like to look at the restaurants is because you do have to integrate a POS. Generally, there's like a system like Aloha or these different, systems where the employees clock in, clock out, they make the orders. They're very complicated systems that are important to your business, and payroll is one of those components. But it should be able to tie in somehow to payroll, or if you have employees clocking in and clocking out constantly, can you get a CSV file? And in that implementation phase, one of the questions I would ask is, can I import or export data from payroll? And if so, can I take a CSV file, upload the time and attendance for employees from another system? If so, can you hand me the specs of that format? Then you want to take that format and you want to email it to your customer service rep of the software company that you want to integrate. That is very helpful at times. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to move on. Here's some of the other thing: National Restaurant Association. It looks like Roosters. These look like a few like national accounts or people that they decided, hey, this would be great. But depending on your workforce, it might make sense to have employee self service, on demand pay. This is something that's really cool. So a lot of the payroll companies are starting to use this. And these are cards that you can get. And in the restaurant industry, this might make the difference between getting a good employee and somebody who, that might make the difference. Because if the company down the street allows you to get your pay as you earn it, then, hey, that's pretty cool. So you'll want to talk to them about how you can set that up and what the costs associated with that. There is some risk, right? If they earn the pay, right? And you want to know, first question is, okay, so how is that card being funded? Is Paycor fronting the money to my employee on my behalf? Or am I paying up front somehow? Do I have a fund for this? Where's the money drawing from today? Right? That's what you want to know, especially depending on how your cash is managed. So, industry analytics, you can go into that a little bit more detailed. These are like benchmarks you can look at specific to your SIC codes, all that. You can look at your turnover ratio, headcount movement. Is it normal? Is it not? You can see if you're doing well. So restaurants, I personally am not dealing with restaurants all the time. I mostly help them set up like their payroll, their software, some of their general liability stuff because they don't always have benefits. Depending on their size, they may have to offer some, but generally they'll have a lot of part-time workers, and that's not what I get into. So some of the companies I'm more used to working with are like technology companies, professional services. So let's dive right into that. So when you look here, 100K technology companies, employees. Wow. Um, so they say they've been around for 30 years or so in this industry. Advanced tools for tech savvy employees. Look, at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be so tech savvy. I mean, we're talking about payroll. We're talking about payroll here. I just want to know, how do I get my check? How do I get access to my 401k system? Like, what's my balance? Is it connected? Can I check something real quick? Hey, I got to get my card. How much is in my FSA, HSA? Those are the real important questions I want to know. And as far as the employee experience, like when I work for someone, and I believe they do that here. Most of the tech companies too, they want to have access to, throw out and share their card, maybe with the spouse, maybe with a significant other. As you can see, they changed some of the little things here. Design for leaders. They'll give you some fancy charts here so you can look at stuff. If you look at recognition, all that, optimize index, coach index, all that. So some of this stuff you're going to get templates for, but you're going to want to design your own strategy around building employee culture. What Paycor is going to allow you to do is build that employee culture on a platform, and then the interactions you decide to measure, the KPIs you decide to measure, that's what's going to dictate the results of how well this is working for you. So when you're going through this process with Paycor specifically, because they do have a full HRIS system, Whether you're looking at buying this now or it's something in the future you want to grow into, I would invite you to say, hey, I want a demo of this stuff so you can start to see what you're going to grow into. One of the big rules that they have in technology, and I forget exactly where it comes from. I'm sure somebody will let me know in the comments, but it's easy to take a culture. Well, it's not easy, but it's easier to take a culture from a B to an A than it is from a C culture to an A culture once you hit about 150 employees. So what that means is right around like, 50 employees, 100 employees, you're going to start to see things grow beyond just your initial team, your friends, maybe that are working for you, some of your core people who really cared about the mission and grew it. You're going to start to get people who are a little bit further removed from that. Equity goes down as far as things you may be handing out. Some of the exciting milestones have already been met. People start to feel like they're a little bit late on the gravy train. So you want to find other ways that you can help grow the organization and grow the people in the organization first. And that's what this tool will do. The questions that they'll ask you, in deciding whether or not this makes sense for you is going to be important. Usually I find the people who run the demos ask great questions generally. That's what they do is they do these demos all day and they don't have as much sales pressure. They like to get a win, but they don't have as much sales pressure. So sometimes really cool. Let's look at the AI piece. That's super, super duper fun for a lot of people. Everybody loves AI, but artificial intelligence is just going to speed up your process. Is it a good process? It says tap into the world's largest database of active and passive candidates, exploring recruiting. So qualified or unqualified. So look, a lot of these keywords, a lot of these things that are in here, you're going to have to be the one to describe what does good look like? What does a great employee for this role look like? You want to spend time and say, what is this person going to be doing on a daily basis? And to do that well, a lot of times I ask our HR teams and I ask the C-level, hey, we all need to sit at the table together. The C-suite needs to have HR at the table because the people are the greatest asset and liability to the company if you don't get it right. That being the case, this product, I guarantee, will help you out if you have a great process. It will just give you a bigger pipeline, more access to more information, more access to weed out people, but don't let it fool you. It's not going to do the work for you. You have to do the work. It's going to allow you to scale a good process. So if you want to scale a good process, take the time to first find in the company, why do I need the role? What behaviors are going to be relevant? How do I take those behaviors and compensate them in a way where they're incentivized to keep doing what I want them to do? And if you put that type of thought into the process, this type of product will absolutely sing. So definitely go through and ask the information on that. See what they say. The questions that they ask of you might be the answers that you need to have. And we kind of believe on our side of the fence that, hey, the highest level of intelligence needs questions. Think. All right. All right. Powerful insights. Uncover crucial data such as turnover, gender pay, equity. Okay, so this is actually a great tool. Sometimes you can't tell if you have a gender bias or if you have a bias towards a certain group of people. You might just think like, hey, I just feel more comfortable with this person and how they're hiring or like how they hire. Or I might feel more comfortable about hiring these people. They remind me a lot of myself. Well, that could be a problem. You could have a bias. And I think a lot of people do have a bias. It's what you do with the awareness of that bias and how you shift your focus onto making the change so that it's fair and equitable in the company. One of the things that we talk about with a lot of people, are we operating in good faith? If you're operating in good faith and you do want to make a change where there may need to be change, or you want to explore if there's change to be made, then this is a good product to look at. Now, I want to say this is something that you may want to look at as you get larger. I mean, if you're 10, 15 people, you probably have the feeling you can look at payroll yourself and just figure it out. But as your company is getting larger, 50 people, 70 people, 100 people, 300, 400,000 people, this information starts to get good. Why? Because now you got the law of large numbers on your side. There's more information, so you'll want to explore that. Best in class partnerships, pre-employment assessments, all that. So Paycor does work with a lot of different partners. You'll want to ask them about the partners that make the most sense for you, as far as like video interviewing, pre-employment assessments, AI recruiting solutions. I personally don't love AI recruiting solutions myself, but I'm also not hiring hundreds and hundreds of people at one time. I typically go one by one, or a lot of my clients, we focus on very strategic roles. So it depends on what you're hiring for. And again, this is not going to help you sift through a volume play. It's really designed to hopefully take your quality and make it go up volume. But let's look at some of the partnerships that they boast. So browse the partners and products we can use that meet your business's need. Partners, we're looking for the right partners. Okay, so look, I'll go ahead and say that, like for us, right? Our team, we partner with Paycor. We're not paid by Paycor, but when we partner with them, I want to have a rep that I work with that I can assign my leads to, that I can work with in the community. Typically, a lot of times I have relationships with some of the senior leadership, and they give me their rep that's in my area, or they find me somebody very unique and special that I may need, with a certain expertise for my client's problem. But yeah, here's the different apps. So when you look at the apps, it's very important for you to look at a couple of things. I think the accounting software is good. So Restaurant 365, if you use that, great. Here's some other ones. I'm not seeing like QuickBooks, which is interesting. When you're doing Ben admin, which we'll get to in a second, I personally love when they have like Aetna. They have Allstate benefits for you folks in the Northeast. Let's see. Beneflex, Ease. So Ease is like a system that people use to do open enrollments, to manage the onboarding of employees, and that can integrate in the back end to Paycor. Cigna, if you were to work with them, let's say on this, they're going to do like the EDI feeds. Employer Navigator, that's something that we use. Ease, we use Employer Navigator. We also work with in clients, choice systems. Generally, it's sometimes best just to use your payroll system. So I would say look at Paycor's system there. So Chubb, Principal, all the popular ones. This is really cool for if they do equity. I don't know if they do equity here. You have to check this out. If you guys do offer equity and you do it through Charles Schwab or some of these other folks, you may want to look into exactly how they work with you. Show more apps. So you can go through these, right? It looks like they have most of the major carriers, which is great. What this will do is help you pay bills. It'll help you when you enroll a new employee. It'll give them the paperwork that they need. It will also update, say, like workers' comp. Potentially, if you have workers' comp with them, if the employee leaves, let's just say you guys decide we're done, we're done with this relationship at this time. We either had to downsize, whatever it may be. All the COBRA paperwork should get triggered and go directly to these carriers if you have this stuff all set up. It's really important to note you may have some of your carriers in there, but not all of your carriers. So you still need to make sure that you either communicate with your broker or your HR team is in there, making sure that all the carriers are getting the EDI feeds. Typically, the payroll companies have built these relationships. And I noticed in the last couple of years, especially during COVID, this has gotten to be great. There's a lot of back end stuff that needs to happen once you let someone go, or if you bring them on. Like there's you have to have a health assessment, right? You have to show that you're insurable for certain life products, even if it's employer sponsored. So again, you want to make sure like that works out for you. Now, workers' compensation. This is another thing that is super good for you. Travelers, Guard, AmTrust. These seem to be the only three apps. So I would ask, hey, if you have Hartford, if you have someone else, how would you do that? Again, I'm very surprised that the accounting software, I'm not seeing like QuickBooks Online or UltiPro or some of these other ones. It'd be interesting to see why that is. Background screening, if you still do background screens, ClearStar, Sterling, Assure Hire, those are the main ones that they use. Again, I'm not saying all the ones I typically do. Global payroll. Well, here you go. These are the four that they use for global payroll. You want to check those out. Let's see here. Another one very popular in our world would be retirement solutions. Okay. Well, they got a lot. They did their thing here. Look how many they got. These are pretty good. Empower Retirement starting to become more popular. Fidelity, it's good. John Hancock is popular. MetLife, they got more apps. So it seems that they did do a good job here in making sure that they have that. Human interest, we'll go over that one day. Personally, I'm haven't been a big fan of theirs. I haven't had one client that has been excited about it. So yeah, human interest. They seem to make a lot of technical errors, and hooking them up with the EDI feed. Quite frankly, this doesn't seem like that. Doesn't seem like a wise idea right now from the feedback I've been getting from clients so far, and that's over the course of a few years. The customer service side seems to be lacking as well. So when you run into problems, it really becomes a problem, especially with 401ks. If you're making a transition, there's a blackout period. You want to make sure that these are 360 as well. Also, you want to know, do they do the 5500s for you? What exactly are they doing in each one of these? I don't know that these are all 360 or if they're 180. That's the question you want to know. Is it a 360 app, meaning does the information go in? Does it go out? Are they going to transfer the money from payroll account over at the pay period at the end of the month? Can they do all the things for me? And is there a way that you can have the administrator outsource the fiduciary liability to make sure that the compliance testing is happening and all the things that go on when you are administering our 401k? So let's go into some of the other items here. The products. The products here. So you have payroll software, talent acquisition, talent management, workforce management, benefit admin, compliance solutions. Let's do the overview. Here's this. They got some things here and there. Okay, so HR and payroll software. Again, like payroll's payroll for the most part, but you want to know some very, very tactical things about the payroll, right? One, what reports do you get access to? How easy is it to access those reports? Is the way in which that they name the reports, is it easy for you to find? Because there's certain payroll systems, I won't name any of them, but they'll have something where it's like the benefits report I want is actually in payroll reports, and the payroll reports I want are actually in custom reports, and everything's a little bit like all over the place. And sometimes those companies are able to update those glitches quickly, but some of them fundamentally just don't put the information together in a cognitive way. So you want to know, let me see the reports. Let me see the names of them. Am I able to edit the name so it matches our company's vernacular, right? Payroll software. I mean, the payroll software, I always say just go through the demo so you can see how they do it and get it straight from them, the most updated version of it. Because, when you do look at the payroll systems, the few questions you want to ask are, when do I need to process payroll? And how far ahead does the ACH piece need to happen? Meaning, like if I have payroll and it runs Friday, Do I have to have payroll submitted by Tuesday night or by Wednesday night? Or can I do it all the way up till Thursday and it still happens? If so, when is my account going to be debited? Are you going to debit the payroll taxes, the benefits, the 401k, with everything you have hooked up or not hooked up? What's coming out that paycheck? That's what you want to know. How do they manage? How does that cash flow work? So sometimes you want to invite your CFO into that conversation, or you may want to have them ask a few questions around that. You also want to see if you can get the general ledger in your accounting software updated from the payroll directly, so that there's no manual entries. You may want to see if there's a CSV file that you can download if for some reason the APIs don't work for your accounting system. Those are some of the biggies. The other thing is you want to know, hey, if I do benefit admin, so let's jump over there. Talent acquisition, that's typically a separate product. Talent management, that's not always for everyone. I do say, like, before you go into talent, okay, so the difference between talent acquisition and talent management is talent acquisition is the recruiting process before they get hired. Before they get hired, all that process there. Your recruiting software, how are you sourcing your candidates? You'll get feedback. It's almost like a sales dashboard in a way for your recruiting team. You also want to do onboarding software. That should be a big part of your company culture. How you onboard somebody, how easy it is for them. Hey, it was a few clicks away. I was able to just onboard in a couple minutes. I could show my family my benefits package right there online, right? You want to ask those types of questions. How is it presented? I will say one of their competitors does an excellent job of this, where they can just send a link and just look at their whole benefits package before they start working. Automated talent outsourcing. So, I mean, again, I don't really love automated when it comes to anything around like managing pipelines. It can be wasteful and it can just quantify crap, right? So there you go. So talent management specifically is managing your current team. So career development software, LMS systems, safety programs, all that type of stuff. Giving them career pathing, feedback tools, 360, all that stuff. You'll want to engage with that and learn. And look, if you don't have a good company culture, or you don't have a great process around that, then yeah, you definitely want to spend some time seeing like what they're asking you for. Compensation planning is huge, especially if you're fundraising. And then with talent management, that's pretty much what it is. Before they get hired, when they're hired. Workforce management. Now that seems a little confusing because what's the difference? Workforce management is more scheduling, time and attendance. Definitely spend some time asking those questions specific to how you calculate it. Everybody does it so differently in different industries. I definitely recommend you take your current process, see where you want to make some tweaks, and see how that fits on this system beforehand. Typically, they should send you something before. So benefit administration. I mean, look, Ben admin, a couple of things you want to know. Are you going to do my ACA reporting, my 1095, my 1095Cs, the look back periods, all that? All that data is in there, so they should be able to do that for you, and they generally do. Workers' compensation. I mean, that's like a pay as you go. Most people who have workers' comp and are even looking at a product like Paycor, you already may have this down. But yeah, you want to see if you can do pay as you go and how that would work. You saw that there was only a limited amount of workers' comp apps there, and there you go. So, for the most part, with Paycor, what I would say is it seems like a really nice technology, looks slick. It seems that they have all the attributes you would need for the different industries we mentioned. But you want to, again, look at things specific to your industry. You also want to ask certain questions that mirror what is my process? How do I manage cash flow? What are my needs before you invite yourself into a sales conversation? And look, like what we ask our clients to do as well is loop us in, because if, as the insurance brokers, a lot of times we have to deal with the back end, the COBRA, the EDI, and we want to make sure that those things are set up well. As much stuff as we can automate, we want to automate. So if we can make help you out in any way, shape, or form, we're happy to chat with you. If you have some specifics that you feel like you want to chat through with a nice third party resource that is not necessarily dependent on what payroll company you go with. We work with all of our partners, all of our vendors, and it's all about you figuring out what's going to work best for you and your HR team or lack thereof, and how we can help you guys focus on what you do and get all this paperwork and stuff done in an easy way. So if you have more questions about Paycor or how to buy payroll or integrate benefits, feel free to reach out to us on our website and book a time with us for a 30-minute consultation. Happy to hear you out and see how I can be helpful in any way. I hope you have a great day.